Hi, it's Nell. Welcome to my patio. I'm continuing on with the plant pest series. Today it's going to be scale and thrips. Now I know I said scale and fungus gnats, but I forgot about thrips. And I dealt with a lot of them when I was a professional gardener, so I want to cover those. So I'll do fungus gnats and probably touch on root mealybug because I've had a couple of people ask me about that, because both of those are soil borne. I will touch on those in probably a couple weeks. Now, I don't want to get too technical on things here. I just want to help you identify them and help you control them. Now, both scale and thrips are sucking insects. They suck the sap, which is the juice. Just think of it as the blood of the plant. They suck that, and they will ultimately deform the plant. They injure it, and if it gets really bad, they can kill a plant. Scale is pretty easy to identify. Thrips are not, because they're teeny, 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 tiny. So I'm going to start with scale. And there are many different types of scale, actually thousands. Actually, mealybug is a type of a scale insect. But today, the ones that I'm going to cover are the soft scales and the hard scales. I've also seen a lot of scale both indoors and outdoors. But the soft scale is the one that actually sucks the sap, and it secretes the sugar just like the aphids and the mealybugs do. And then you'll see, you can see like a black, almost like a black mold forming. It's a black fungus that forms on the sugar. And then with that comes the ants, because the ants are after the sugar. They aren't after the plants, they are after the sugar. So once the pests are gone, the ants will be gone too. The soft scale is like a brownish tan, whereas the hard scale can come in either a brown, a black, and there's also a white scale. And it looks like little bumps on the plant, little, some scale is a little bigger than others, and there are different shapes, but it looks like there's a little like bink, bink, bink on the plant. And scale is commonly found on the branches and the stems, mainly the stems. And you can also, if you have a fruit tree, it can be on the fruit, on the undersides of the leaves, but I've seen it on the stems where it's actually coated the whole stem. My neighbors had a myoprim hedge, and they didn't prune it well. It was just like hacked all the time, so it was really dense, and it was a horrible shape, and it was just a breeding ground for insects in there because there was no air circulation, and that was just like covered in scale. It was like, ooh, it just like all the way up and down every branch. And this was like a 40-foot hedge. Now, my orange tree in Santa Barbara had scale too, because it was right next to that myoprim hedge, and it was against a garage and a fence. So there was mealybug and scale on the orange tree. But I've also seen scale on bamboo palms. I've seen it on ferns, Dieffenbachias, Ficus benjaminas, both indoors and out. But there are many other plants too, but those are some ones that I've seen it on. Now, thrips are interesting because, for one reason, it's thrips if it's one thrip, or it's thrips if it's 1,000 thrips. And as I said, they're teeny, 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 tiny. Aphids, mealybug, scale, you can see. Thrips, you really can't until the damage is started or the damage is done. They're these teeny tiny microscopic pests that have long, narrow bodies, and some have wings and some don't. The larvae stages, which would be like the teenagers, the young adults, they don't have any wings. And both scale and thrip, of course, like the other pests, breed like crazy, which makes it hard to get them under control once the infestation gets bad. And just like scale, there are thousands of different types of thrips. And what thrips will mainly attack the upper sides of the leaves and also the flower buds. And they're usually brownish, blackish. I think there's some that are actually a greenish in color, although it's very hard to see them. But what they do is they cause the leaves to mottle, and also when the infestation starts to get bad, the leaves will turn yellowish, and in some cases a silver. So if you have a plant where the leaves are getting a silver sheen to it, it's thrips. So what I've seen thrips infest, besides my neighbor's hideously deformed, ugly myoprim hedge, was quite a few plants up in the Bay Area. I was a professional gardener there, and it was thrips love rhododendrons, azaleas, camellias, ferns. I saw it on a lot of western sword ferns. And also, I've seen it on squash, on Dieffenbachias, gladiolas, on the foliage and the flowers of gladiolas, and also roses. Now I'm going to take you over and show you my rose. I moved into this house. I haven't even been in this house a year yet. And I pruned this rose pretty, gave it a good pruning in the early fall, and it bloomed again, and the flowers were beautiful. But now it's a different story. So let's head on over to the rose. Here's the flower here on my rose. You can see how it's all a bit deformed in the middle and brown on the edges. But what's hard about thrips with roses is you can't tell, because the buds, the rose buds, are so tight and the thrips are in there, you really can't see until they open. So take back here. Here's a flower that's open. It doesn't look too bad. It's just slightly off. But it can be a really bad attack on roses. So if you have roses, you just have to keep your eyes open for that. So I'm going to give you a few controls to choose from. The first up are predators. And lacewings are effective in getting the eggs and the larvae, not the adults all that much. But there is a predatory mite that will eat the eggs of the thrips. So that's another option for you too. Now, I like the old spray off with the hose method to get a handle on aphids and mealybugs. Doesn't work quite as well for the scale and the thrips, but you can get the larvae and the eggs with that. Scale, it's a little bit harder to. But you can also, if you have it on an indoor plant, it's always good to wash it off to make sure there's nothing on there that can hatch into an adult. And then there are the insect killer sprays that you can buy on the market. They come in a concentrate or already ready to spray. You can do a little research and see which one is going to work for you. There's insecticidal soap, there's horticultural oil, and there's neem oil, along with other things, but they are considered natural controls, is suitable for organic gardening. For scale and thrips, I always use the horticultural oil, because the principle behind that is it will coat the pest and eventually smother it, and it does the same to the eggs and the larvae too. And then you have homemade sprays, which can be very effective. One that I would use for these two, if I was to mix one up, would be a mixture of cooking oil, dish soap, and water, and you would spray that on, and it's the same principle as the horticultural oil. I will leave the recipes in the blog post for you, so you can go there and see that. Also, links to all the insect killer sprays that I talked about will be in there where you can buy them. Now, if you only have scale on one plant and it's not too bad, You can just scrape it off with your fingernail if that doesn't cause you to go, ah. Or you can take a cloth and you can wipe it off to the other thing that I have done, if it's not too bad, and there's only a few, is I do half rubbing alcohol, half water. I dip a cotton swab in there, and just like the mealybug, I'll go and I'll dab the scale. And that gets it if the infestation is not bad. And you would also maybe want to spray the branches with a little of alcohol and water too, just to make sure that the eggs and everything are gone. And another control for the adult thrips is the blue sticky traps. Like the yellow sticky traps work for white flies, the blue sticky traps work for thrips. So if you have an infestation, you can hang it in the infested plant, and the adults will go to that, but then you will obviously need to spray for the eggs and the larvae. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few things that you need to be mindful of. Again, there'll be more in the blog post. I'm just going to touch on a few here. Catch them as soon as you see them, because once the infestation gets bad, bye-bye. It's really hard to control. And if you're going to use a spray, whether it's a homemade spray or a store-bought spray, you need to do it multiple times in order for it to be effective. And if there's a really bad infestation, you not only want to spray the stems, the leaves, the flower buds, you also want to spray the ground too, because some eggs may have fallen on the ground. You also want to clean up the debris around any plant if there's been some fallen leaves, because again, the eggs could be on that. Any fallen stems, leaves, or buds, you want to gather them, put them in a plastic bag and get rid of them, because that could be bad news. So if you have had any of your houseplants enjoy the great outdoors in the summertime, and you're going to bring them back in the winter, you want to check them for any hitchhikers they might be bringing in, or you might just want to give them a good spray just to make sure anything is off. Any pests that might be wanting to come inside and enjoy your nice warm house, make sure they're gone. Also too, if you bring any new plants home, be sure and check them to make sure they're pest free. Okay, are you going to go or stay? So I hope you have found this video about scale and thrips to be helpful. You can now identify them and take action. I thank you for all your likes and your subscribes. I really appreciate them. Now let's get out in our pest-free gardens and make the world a more beautiful place. As I said, next up is fungus gnats, but I'm going to take a little bit of a break because I have a lot of planting projects I want to do, which of course I'll be sharing with you. So I have a lot more videos coming your way. So I thank you for watching as always. And Riley, who's busy watching a butterfly. Oh no, there's a hummingbird. Oh yeah, there's a hummingbird over there on the pomegranate. We both say goodbye and we thank you for watching. Bye. Oh, did you see the hummingbird? Oh yes. Okay, where did my glasses go? Oh dear, it's hard being a YouTube star. It's time for a nap. I'm all worn out.